those of you who don't know me, I am James Schneider. I am a writer for PQ Monthly in Portland, and I write for my own wildly unpopular and poorly named blog. I write about a few topics, but lately I've been writing a lot about dating apps. In fact, so much so that people have started calling me the Scruff Whisperer. Pause for laugh. In the fall of 2012, I found myself single and almost 40. I downloaded the Scruff app at the insistence of my ex. Now, I've been single for almost 3 years, and I think I've become a professional spinster. I've taken the which classic Dickens character are you quiz many times on BuzzFeed, and I always get the answers, but I don't miss Havisham every time. Jokes. So to give you a little bit of background, what is the Scruff thing? Scruff is a guy who thinks he's fly, also known as a buster. No, it's a dating app for guys with beards who want more Instagram followers. No, it's a location-based mobile phone application that shows you a grid of available men who tend to skew to the pursuit end of the spectrum. Notice I said available, not necessarily single. While I'm looking for something monogamous and long-term, not everybody is, by a long shot. Some guys are there looking for friends. Some guys are looking for workout buddies. I feel like I'm Alanis Morissette looking for her next Dave Coulier. Looking for future inspiration for blog posts. So first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes baby in the baby carriage. This is a playground song that a lot of us have learned, and we learned it at an early age. It's one of our first heteronormative indoctrinations. Doesn't really fit for queer relationships though, does it? In fact, even for straight relationships, sometimes the baby comes first, and then marriage, and then love if you're lucky. But what comes before love or even lust? Well, courtship comes before that. Courtship defined as behavior that results in mating. It can be simple, something as subtle as visual or chemical stimuli, or something very complicated like a series of progressive actions by two or more individuals. No matter where we fall on the relationship spectrum, if you possess sexuality, you have courted someone at one time or another. Animals do it in their quest to find an ideal mate. Some tropical birds perform ritualized dances that involve numerous gestures and components to woo a mate. And humans, well, our human rituals can be at once both more complicated and more subtle. But at one time or another, we all shake our tail feathers for each other. We all flaunt our plumage. We are all the cat lying a dead bird at somebody's feet at one time or another. The question isn't, does courtship still exist? Of course it does, and it probably will for as long as sex exists. The real question is, if modern courtship is done through dating apps, then how does that affect queer culture? Besides, of course, the life-changing breakthrough of being able to sext and poop at the same time. I've heard. Human courtship is alternately charming and completely fucked up. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Women from a specific Amazon tribe expressed sexual interest in their partner by spitting in their face. The Native American Choctaw tribe, males would express interest in a female mate by throwing a pebble or token at her and seeing if she threw one back. Now, in the African Igbo tribe, those fuckers knew how to party and exemplify misogyny. If you were a young male of the tribe and you considered yourself potentially ready for marriage, you would start broadcasting this by showing disdain for helping out with household chores like cleaning and cooking. You would hang with the tribe elders and your dad more and more. You would distance yourself from childhood treats like finishing the soup at the bottom of the bowl or eating grasshoppers. At some point your dad notices Hey son, I noticed you've been a lot less helpful around the house, a lot more clingy with older dudes. Not eating as many insects as before. You would confess that you had a crush. But then you would think at this point you would go up to her, you would ask her out. No, your best friend goes to her family's house, brings gifts of cola nuts and palm wine. And your friend lets the family know that you're interested. Finds out if she likes you or likes you. If she says yes, it starts off a whole other series of pre-marriage rituals that involve palm wine, and cola nuts start flying in everyone's face. So what's the modern dating app analog to this? How do you let someone know that you find them attractive, that you want to give them your cola nuts? Well, you woof at them, or you swipe right, or you star them. This is the first tentative step of letting someone know you find them attractive, and they can reciprocate if they feel a mutual attraction. They can throw the pebble back at you. Yes, on scruff, you woof. Maybe this is rooted in pop culture. I don't know what makes the sound that a dog makes any more sexy than a crow cawing or a cow mooing. Sometimes getting looked at a lot on these apps can feel a little annoying. Get that dog some chocolate. Room full of dog owners. Any of these modern cues, including the woof, aren't exactly subtle, but courtship has never been about subtlety. Take cruising, for example. In the early to mid-20th century, there was a need to keep queer sexuality a secret, and cruising subtly for gay sex in often public locations emerged from this. Even the word cruising in certain conversation contexts would cue another gay listener to the speaker's hidden sexuality. Yes, I and you have probably heard our great gay brethren talking about being old-fashioned, maybe even heard some whispered slut shaming. But doesn't that sound like privilege? Make no mistake about it. Whether you love it or loathe the idea, cruising was an act of bravery and necessity in its time. We should all be thankful for the pioneers who came before us. When that furtive, affectionate, rough grapple in the public restroom or a bathhouse was as much an act of beautiful human sexuality as it was an unintentional political protest. So what comes next? What comes after the thrown pebble, after the swipe right? This is the point where more information is found out. Where do you live? Where are you from? How old are you? What are you into? Not always verbal. As we approach the latter half of the 20th century and the United States sexual repression loosened its grip a little bit, other more overt sexual indicators of one's preference emerged. Yes, I am talking about the hanky code. Totally unsubstantiated rumor has a sort of bandana code popping up in as early as post-gold rush West Coast, where the lack of women in mining communities meant the local men had to improvise at square dances. The men wearing blue bandanas either wrapped around their arm or in their pocket would take the male role in the dance, and the men wearing the red-colored bandanas would take the female role in the dance. Other queer folklore has a village voice writer in New York in the 70s jokingly suggests that men indicate their preference with different colored hankies hanging out their back pockets. And apparently gay men took it seriously, started adopting it. The codes vary from region to region, but a black hanky in your right pocket could mean you're into being the dominant role in S&M, while green in the left pocket meant you could be had for a price. Red, yellow, brown. You could probably guess what these stand for. There are as many codes as there were variations on your particular brand of love. And now, well, in the world of dating apps, there's not a lot of subtlety. Maybe that's a good thing. With so many people looking for such different things, Maybe it's a good thing that we can see whether we're compatible in the ways that count, in the ways that are deal breakers. Mystery and nuance will always be sexy, but they're not inherently necessary to courtship. Would I rather know whether somebody is a top or bottom, whether I go out with them on a date? Yes. Do I need to see pictures of their lumpy butt in a jockstrap? Probably not. So now what? We've thrown the pebble, he's thrown the pebble back. Now comes meeting up. Now here's the thing, the next part has become less black and white through the years in Western civilization. If you're in Japan, the time-honored tradition of omayai, well, on the surface it's an arranged marriage. It's a bit more complex than that. It's still practiced today in some classes in Japan. It emerged during Japan's feudal era, mostly for political alliances. Obviously, arranged marriages bypassed queer culture. So it's safe to say that if you're in Japan and you are practicing omayai, you know it's a date. In modern Western culture, it's not so clear. The consequence of having so much variety in what we're looking for means there's still a bit of mystery to be had when you decide to meet someone for the first time in person. There's a trend lately to refuse to call anything a date. We're just meeting up. We're grabbing a beer. We're workout buddies. On the surface, this can be frustrating and it can lead to misunderstandings. It can even lead to heartbreak. It's where the waters are muddied, but maybe it's in the best way. Hear me out. Maybe this is what it looks like when a part of society that's been marginalized for so long starts coming into its own. The woof, the swipe right, the poke. These are all our own pebbles that we throw. But maybe they're much more than that. They're our emerging language of queer culture and queer courtship. No, not every gay person is on apps. Not by a long shot, but millions are. And maybe in the year 2115, some hologram will be standing here talking to the Jade audience about the ancient 21st century practice of woofing. Maybe the future of courtship sounds less like a suitor at your door with flowers. Maybe in the future it sounds more like